Okay, let me bring up a pointer. Okay, maybe we will mute most of the streams, bring it to live, bring it to live again. Okay, so welcome to the live stream. Okay, so doing the first live stream on this channel, and today we're looking at the Singapore Bowling Nationals mixed graded squad C. So for anyone who is like not too familiar with mixed graded, basically it's one category below the open. In the past, there are certain like average restrictions, like your league average has to be like below, I think 185 or like 180, or in certain cases 175, in order to play the mixed graded category. The mixed term refers to men and ladies mix. So ladies will have a little bit of an advantage in terms of having some, I think 7-pin or 5-pin handicap. I haven't checked the rules and regulations, but I think last year it's 7-pin handicap per game. So they will have some 7-pin force extra every game to count towards their qualifying and their masters force. So that's the advantage for the ladies. That's why they can have a mixed group, so that they can have more players in the squads. Because if it's just a graded division for ladies, typically the turnout is quite bad, as there are not that many ladies in Singapore which are confident of playing the mixed graded category. Although the open category there are more, because like the Singapore nationals, the ladies in the national squad and so on, and the there are tons of ladies in the national squad that are able to compete in the open category, but in the graded category it's quite difficult to find ladies. So they came up with the mixed graded division to mix both men and ladies in the single graded division. And yeah, so that's it. So also additional like information for mixed graded, maybe we can bring up Singapore Bowling website, and we can take a look at the oil pattern that they are playing, because the oil pattern is quite important. Let's take a look at the tournament schedule. And today is the 7th, right, of June. That's right, 7th of June. We are in squad C, so they're playing oiling pattern B. So let's load up oiling pattern B. And 7 June is well underway. It's going to end at around 2 more hours time. So this is the pattern that this particular block is playing, and we can see that the outside area, that means from boards 1 to 9, if you look at the bottom of the screen, is actually the dry part, the flat part. So there's no allowance if you are going to play like straight down outside in this area. And the slope of the pattern mainly comes from board 10s to board 15. So this pattern B is actually the easier pattern, in my opinion, as compared to other patterns that they have in this tournament, which I believe pattern C is the more difficult one. Which when will they play pattern C? On Thursday, right? Thursday and Friday. Wait, let me check. Squad A, men's open, mixed seniors. Yeah, they'll play on pattern A. So tonight, as well as in Wednesday night, the open division they'll play in pattern A, and tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, they'll play in pattern C, and they'll have a squad A as well. They'll play in pattern C again for the men's open. And I think pattern C is actually more difficult, because if you look at pattern C, the flat part extends further into the lane, like from boards 11 all the way to board 2 is totally flat. There's no oil at all in board 1, so there's a little bit of a safety area in board 1. But then again, if you look at this, it's also the same here, right? Board 1, there's no oil at all. But don't expect that a ball would, don't expect that this one single board will prevent your ball from going into the gutter, because if it's in the direction of going into the gutter, one board of dry is not going to save it. So there's that. And you look at the slope for pattern C only exists between boards 11 to boards 14, whereby if we were to look at pattern B, there's a much more generous slope here, all the way from boards 14 all the way to board 10. So there's about one, two, three, four, five boards of allowance on pattern B, but there's only technically like one, two, three boards of allowance for pattern C. So pattern C is a lot tougher, and this fall off of the cliff from here to here, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Just that the middle part of the lane is also flat as well. So if you're sending your ball, if you miss the break point at like and you miss to the inside at boards 15, 16, 17, you're not gonna get any allowance at all. Then your ball is just gonna overhook. Or it's definitely gonna like overhook, or it will just go straight depending on like your ball itself. So generally, yeah, pattern B is a little bit more forgiving. So in terms of this pattern, so if we are looking at this, generally, if I see this slope in the pattern here, I would want my ball to find the breakpoint at around boards 10 to board 14. So that will be my designated breakpoint. So if we were to look at, like maybe we look at one of the lanes here, right? So if we were to refer to the pattern, that's Coach Uncle Rick Tan. Yeah, wearing the PBC shirt representing PBC there. I think he won. He didn't win, but he won. He went through one of the selections for Plaza Bowling Club, and he managed to qualify. So they are sponsoring him a certain amount of squads or the entry fees for this particular squad. Okay, so anyway, for example, we have Coach Yukun that's bowling here. So ideally, boards, I think 10 to 14 will be around this area to around this area. So this will be the ideal breakpoint. And we see that Coach Yukun hits just right outside of that area. Still typically decent because Coach Yukun here is actually playing a more direct line. So he is aiming for the right outside of that board 10 there. So if we were to use this lane, for example, that the ideal breakpoint would be somewhere from here to somewhere around here, about 10 to 14. I think he rose. It looks like he rose to the outside and his ball overhooked. Okay, maybe it's the angle of the camera. I can't really see it properly. Then we have Uncle Rick Tan as well. Let's see what line he plays. I think Uncle Rick plays more direct line. He's a very precise, very accurate bowler, but I remember him that he plays a more direct line. Oh, he's actually sticking to the inside. He's playing the center of the lane. Let's see what kind of line he's going to play. Hey, go straight up there. So, Uncle Ray actually chooses to go to the inside of that ideal breakpoint zone. So it's about boards 14, 15 there as his breakpoint. I think he missed a bit left actually because he sent his ball around, I think almost like 15 at the breakpoint. So might not be that ideal. Hey. So I was thinking that for our bowler, oh no, this is spare shot. Okay. And Coach Rick will go cross the lane to hit his spin and spare. He's an excellent spare shooter. Previous national bowler during his youth, and still actively bowling even at his mature age as of today, and always actively participating in competitions. We do have a two-hander from BIS here, and that would be the ideal line that usually one would want to play this pattern, right? Somewhere around here. So his breakpoint is about, I think about 13, 14 there. About 13, about 12 to 13, I think, down the lane. That is his breakpoint. And let's go to another pair. Oh, we have a two-hander on the left. Oh, I forgot his name, but that is booked with him before. Quite a good two-hander. Joel Low from BIS. I think missing a spare there. That's unfortunate. Go Sung Liet there. Go Sung Liet will be. Okay, this is lanes 5 to 8, right? I don't really see. inside here. Okay, one-hander. One-hander probably go more direct, I think. Yeah, he does. He does go more direct. He actually goes way direct. Like he's sending it around board 8 straight down, if I'm not wrong. I think he sent it straight down along this line. That is not the ideal breakpoint that I would play, but I mean it seems to work for him. Just that he would be at a disadvantage because he doesn't have a lot of room for error because his ball is actually in the flat zone. Because if we were to look back at the pattern for B, let's close C for now. Pattern for B, the bowler earlier Goshenit, he's playing directly. His ball is around here, 7 to 8. So his ball goes through the zone in the oil whereby it's totally flat. So he has no allowance at all. If he misses a little bit left or right, he will totally miss his breakpoint. Totally. He will completely miss his breakpoint. So it is going to be a difficult zone for him, and it is quite impressive that he can hit his strikes, his target and his strikes, and he's actually scoring really well. So it goes to show that he's actually a very accurate bowler. Well, he's very consistent, very accurate. He has to hit his target dead on in order for him to get the strikes that he wants. So extremely good bowler there. Very precise. Like most of his shots, yeah, strikes. The only non-strikes I see is on the third and fourth frame, as well as is that frame 7? Yeah, and frame 7, the rest of them are strikes. So he's bowling extremely well in order to get that result for the line that is playing. Yep. Zuhali here actually is bowling a little bit of what I would consider the more ideal line, sending a bit inside out, and his breakpoint still ends at about, I think, board 10, I believe. Oh, you see, he missed a little bit to the right. So Gosunit here, he actually missed a hair to the right, and that's it. His ball didn't even hit the headpin, right? So it just goes to show how unforgiving his line is. Any mistakes at all would directly punish him. So Zuhaili here, I believe he should be playing this line, sending out to board 10. So crossing about in between the second and third arrow, if I'm not wrong. Yep. Close to there, he's playing a little bit outside of where I drew. So as she goes a little bit more direct, goes around here. So a little bit inside out. Still sends it to the breakpoint around board 10, I believe. Okay, so going on to the next pair of lanes 13 to 16. Few bowlers from SIM. Maybe I can compare some of the physical games between the older and the newer styles. Like, you can see here with Remus Lim, I believe Remus is a two-hander from BIS. Looking at the way he holds his ball during the stance, because he doesn't put his thumb in. Can't really see his hand. Playing a little bit inside out as well. So playing this line. Playing around the third arrow zone. And Bessel, I believe, is a two-hander. I've bowled with him before in the same competitions, not directly on the same pair of lanes, but in like the community, I think the community bowl where it's inter community bowl and stuff like that. He has represented his GRC. Pretty good two-handed bowler actually. I think he misses his breakpoint to the right. Yeah, looks like he missed it because he sent his ball all the way to board 5 there. Yeah, so sent it out too far wide. So in this particular pattern, because the outside is so flat, pattern B, because it's outside here is flat. So if you miss your ball, like let's say if your breakpoint is board 10, right? If you miss to the right, then there's actually very little oil. As in, there is some drive for your ball to come back. But for example, if you miss too much to the right, let's say you hit boards 8 to board board 7 to board 8, right? Or even board 5 at the breakpoint, then there's just no allowance for your ball to come back off because the oil is actually totally even here. It's not like the outside has a lot less oil, so the oil doesn't slope down like this to actually help the ball to cook back. The oil is actually flat here. Okay, so Basil spared that. Let's see if Basil Fares can actually get a better shot here. So ideally, I think for someone with Basil Fares speed and ref rate, this should be the ideal line. In playing between third and fourth arrow, sending the ball, maybe, I mean, a little bit outside as well. Between third and fourth arrow, sending around here. Can't see it though. Yeah, it's blocked. But seems like I got a strike. Yeah, so that would be the line I imagine somebody would play. That means going through third arrow actually. Going through third arrow and sending it out all the way to around board 11, I guess. 11 to 10 as the breakpoint. Okay, now we can see Ramus on the left lane, so we can have a better picture, better view of where Ramus is playing. Ramus plays pretty deep inside, so close to around fourth arrow. I think he sends his ball around here. His breakpoint is more to the inside, about boards 13, I believe. 13 or even 14. And then his ball just changes a little bit of direction and then goes into the pocket. I think that has been the line that's been working best for a lot of the two-handers, especially DBIS bowlers. I think the under 16, if I've looked at the results for the under 16 boys, I think all three positions were dominated by the BIS two-handers. Under 18 not so. I think under 18 also pretty much dominated by two-handers as well. The first position was Peter Kaur. Second position was I forgot his name. But from BIS as well, also another two-hander. Yep, so play a bit of a deeper line, actually. It seems to work. So I think that's the line that's worked for them so far in this competition because they are playing on I think the exact same oil pattern, which is oil pattern B. They've played, I think, in oil pattern A. Yeah, you can see that they play under 12 is pattern B, under 16 is pattern B as well. Under 18 is also pattern B. Only youth squad is playing in pattern A. So the boys who have played through the under 16 and under 18, they are very familiar with this oil pattern. So they're just going with the line which previously worked for them. Okay, that's that. Spare shooting here. I believe Christopher here is a one-hander. This one is standing pretty deep. I think he's gonna play this line, right? He's probably gonna send his ball to like board 15 at the breakpoint. Let's take a look. Oh, he's actually playing even deeper. It's not gonna come back. Yeah, he's trying too deep a line because he tried this line, like, and this is too deep. He sends it too far to the right for his ball to come back. That is around like board, almost board 9 at the breakpoint. Like ideally, I think he should play a tighter line, maybe going for like board 12 as the breakpoint. But this is a spare shot, so it doesn't matter. Good spare there. Oh, doesn't. He goes straight for the spare and doesn't get it. He chops it actually. So ideally, actually, for the particular spare that was left by, I believe Christopher, this would be the line that I would take going from right to left. It would be a safer line, gives more room for error. So as for who's watching, the live stream source is from Singapore Bowling Federation YouTube channel. So if you are watching and you to like see the direct live feed, please go ahead to Singapore Bowling Federation YouTube channel, and you can watch the live stream sources there. So I've disabled the stream sounds because otherwise it's going to interfere with my mic volume. Another two-hander here, Joshua from BIS, So probably gonna play deeper line as well. I think it doesn't send it enough to the right. Yeah, it misses his breakpoint totally. So he probably missed his target at the arrows. He probably wants to play this line, but he missed his target at the arrows. So it doesn't go right enough. It doesn't send his ball far enough to the right. And his ball overhooks, goes cross pocket instead. Leaving him a very makeable spare. Not easy, but wait, it's actually not an easy spare. That is pins 5, 5, 8, right? Yeah, that's actually quite a difficult spare. Let's see if he makes it. Nope, doesn't. Yeah, it's a very difficult spare. 5 and 8. Gotta fit your ball right in between 5 and 8. And we have Samuel Ang here, fellow two-hander. He actually is taught by Bowling is Science because he was, I think, the vice captain for Republic Poly bowling team when he was still in school. So I believe Samuel has left Republic Poly graduated and graduated from Republic Poly like years ago, and I believe he has also completed his national service. So that's like maybe good 3 or 4 years ago when he was in RP. And RP's national bowling team is coached by the BIS coaches, previously Coach Surin, who is now the technical director for Singapore bowling as a whole. So definitely very good coach, and that is a spare that we all hate to see for a two-hander because his ball actually he was going the right direction, but the rotation of his ball may go straight instead. So that is where the two-handers have to learn a technique whereby they have to like flatten the release or to make it go end over end, make it go forward roll. And again, we are looking at Chris Tan. So I believe the ideal line for Chris Tan should be to place the ball more towards the inside, to have the break point at around board 13 to 14. Yeah, this looks like a better line. Still overhooks. I see. So it's a pretty aggressive ball that Chris is using there. It turns way too much. So if I were him, I would actually be using a less aggressive ball that doesn't hook as much. It doesn't make such an aggressive change of direction. So like maybe a more symmetric ball. So because in that case, actually Chris has the ideal line, right? He actually sent it almost close, like almost on the line, like where I projected on the lane, but yet his ball overhooked from there. So yeah, he probably might want to go for a little bit less aggressive ball, like maybe a symmetrical ball. Joshua Ong here from BIS actually totally missing the target, totally missing the break point. So you can see that when he missed to the right, his ball did not recover because his ball like hit around board 5, I guess, as at the break point. So it's way too far to the right. No way for it to recover. So for a spare shot, he probably needs to keep it tight to that pink line I've drawn. There's a chance. And you see, perfect. Right, hits the pocket too. Almost too high actually on the pocket. Okay, Samuel is going to bowl on the left again. Oh, looks like a pretty good shot. Looks like it's going to overhook. He misses I think he hits the break point. There's a little bit to the inside. Yeah, and the ball will. So in the case of Samuel, he either has to send his ball speed faster, or go for a less aggressive ball, or move deeper to the inside. I would suggest moving deeper to the inside actually, because the squad has gone on for quite a while, right? But as of now, live streaming now is at 3:42, and looking at the squad time, the squad started at, check again. Tuesday, right? Squad started at 2:30. So it's been a good 1 hour into the squad. So I believe they are in their second block of games because they have 8 games, right? Oh wait, block 6 games, right? So I think they are in the second block of 2 games. So they're probably in games 3 and 4. So it's not fresh oil. It's not fresh oil anymore. So the bowlers actually have to like slowly transition deeper and deeper into the lane. Okay, so continuing on to this pair of lanes, we have lane 22 and 23 and 24, and we have a bowler that I'm somewhat familiar with, Ku Sui Chiang, which is Dwayne Ku, a fellow league bowler. I bowl in the same league team as him, so we wear the same league t-shirt. Going for a not too easy sleeper spare. So Dwayne, in my opinion, he likes to hook the ball a lot. So he actually wants to probably send it straight down and actually have the ball hook. Yep. So he does that as well. Yep. And that which is the correct way to make the sleeper, because you actually want your ball to hook and roll into the sleeper so that you can carry the pin behind. Okay, we have a female bowler here, Miss Lim Wei Teng. She looks like she's gonna play quite deep into the lane. Oh, she looks like she totally missed her target. So from Lim Wei Teng here, I think the ideal line from where she's standing would be somewhere like this. A little bit inside out, still going for that board like 13, 14 break point. But it looks like in the previous shot, she totally missed left. Yeah, I was looking at Joshua Ong's shot, which goes flat into the pocket. Yeah, so Miss Lim there still has the issue of missing to the left. Could be due to her bowling form. So maybe I can take a chance to like rewind this particular part and we can take a look at her form to see why she's missing to the left. Okay, one outstanding feature is that first and foremost, if you look at her stance, right, like her shoulders are a little bit too square. In the modern bowling game, we prefer the bowling shoulder to be a little bit lower so that you will tip your hips down as well and more to the back. The right hip tips more to the back, is positioned more to the back of the body, so that your body will be a little bit like slanted this way. The hips will get out of the way of the bowling of your downswing when you actually do the ball placement and you start the swing. So in her case, I think her hips are in the way here. She's standing a little bit too square. So when she swings, as you can see here, when she swings, right? So maybe I can draw a circle here, right? You can see that while she swings, the ball almost knocks into her hips, right? Because she doesn't have enough space, she doesn't open up her hips enough for the swing to go through. So in this case, because the hips are in the way, the swing goes in an inside out direction. Like this is, the swing should have been going this way, right? But instead, now that her swing is going this way, inside out. This is a swing plane because the hips are actually in the way. So when if she doesn't do a compensation, or if the swing doesn't change direction, like on the backswing, she will end up releasing the ball going to the left. So this is actually an error of like her posture of her hips as well as her shoulders during the stance. And she does change direction here. So if we were to reverse a little bit, so you can see on her backswing, her body instinctively changes the direction of the backswing, right? So originally her swing plane was this way, and if you see on top, now her swing plane, she swings her arm to the inside, and then she's positioned to make the arm go out there. But if you look at her hips again, her hips are actually getting in the way of the downswing, right? Because the hips are actually not open. Ideally, the hips should be open up this way so that there's more space, and ideally her upper body should be tilted to the right here, because if her upper body is tilted to the right, then she will have actually more space on the right side of the body for the swing to come down. So this is an error of form basically. Upper body for the, like, I think she also doesn't really lean forward. Let me check. Actually not too bad. Ideally it should be more. She should actually have more upper body forward lean. I think it's decent, but the main problem is actually in the hips. In the position of the hips as well as the shoulders. Like the shoulders are actually too square. Like when she's going in, when the ball is going into the downswing, you can see that the hips are actually blocking. If I were to draw, her hips are actually blocking the swing. So there's not enough space for the ball to come down. Hence, what happens is that the ball actually moves around the body. The ball goes around her hips instead. So since it goes around, So where is it going to end up? Because it goes around like this. So if she follows through, completes the direction of that roundabout swing, the ball is going to go to the left. And I believe that is what contributes to her sending the ball to the left here. Yep. And you can see that in motion as well, like the turning of her hand. Like you can see her hand from here, hand is inside, and then it will actually do this roundabout turn and turn over here. So let's see whether we can capture it in the freeze frame. Yeah, it turns. So it goes to the outside. So you can see that the bowling glove actually is now, originally a bowling glove was like her palm was facing this way, right? Originally. And now look at where her palm is facing. Her palm is facing this way. So obviously she did a turn. Her palm as well as her bowling arm actually did like 90, sort of like 40, 90 degrees turn. So that turn also contributed to sending her ball to the left. Yeah. So it is going to be difficult for her to like keep sending her ball to the right if she doesn't change her basic form. Because right now she's actually relying on compensation of the backswing, like how the body is actually trying to compensate for that the hips blocking the way of the downswing and trying to wrap sending it around. Mhm. We have a lefty here, Chong Wei Chen. His line looks like a little bit too tight in my opinion. Like I think he's playing too close to the third arrow. In my opinion, for a left-hander, the ideal line should be in this range, right? Right in the allowance, right where the slope of the oil pattern is, which is probably like 10-10 or 11-11, or maybe something like 11-10. Going for his spare shot. So should be using a plastic ball going straight cross lane for that spare. Oh, it's going a little bit straight. Oh, when he misses it, actually, yeah, that I think that isn't a spare ball. That ball actually hooks. Yep. So playing too straight for that particular spare, ideally, even for a lefty, you should be going cross lane, trying to spare it like this. Okay, finally I get to see Dwayne Koo for his strike shot. Oh, Lim Wei Ting actually managed to send the ball straight. Ooh, he actually carried that spare. I saw it. That was on lane 22. So Dwayne here, let's see what line he goes for. Ooh, plays quite tight, but misses the breakpoint completely. Like he was, I don't know whether this was the line he wanted to play, because in this way he would actually be hitting the breakpoint at board 5, and that's way too far to the outside for the ball to recover. So ideally for a bowler like Dwayne, which has decent ball, quite good ball speed and decent ref rate, I would recommend for a bowler like that to play close to around the third arrow. Send the ball close to the third arrow, have the breakpoint still be at around board 10, and then sending it to the pocket. He's probably going to hook at this spare because that is how he likes to convert his left-sided spares, which is quite risky. In my opinion, for all these spares, we will always recommend going at it with a straight plastic ball. And we have coach and bowler Nick Lam here walking across the lanes there, so helping out the BIS boys. Okay, going to the next pair. So here we have quite a few two-handers. Ling Wei Yong here is an adult two-hander. I don't know whether he's self-taught in the art of two-hander bowling, but he's quite a good two-hander bowler. Like his ball speed is quite good. His form is quite simple. Like not a lot of unnecessary movements. The release point is also pretty smooth as well. For okay, this not Naomi is the female bowler. Wow, we have a really deep line for Chua Zhong Han here. Really deep line. Chua Zhong Han actually playing this kind of line. Uh, Maybe his ball is like just too aggressive, right? I think Chua Zhong Han should be going for a less aggressive ball, probably going for like a symmetric ball, because that ball is being way too aggressive, and which forces him to play too far, too deep inside at this stage of the squad. Fortunately, somebody shifted the camera and the camera lost its focus, so we're seeing a very blur screen here. Ew. Yeah, now we can't see the names. Okay, so obvious bowler there is a lefty, which totally with the spare. So because his spare is actually it has the head pin with it, so I will actually suggest for the bowler to go for a pocket shot to play the same line as their pocket line. So for a lefty, as I previously mentioned, probably landing the ball at about 13, then sending it maybe 12 at the arrows, landing the ball maybe around 12 to 12 and a half, then sending about maybe 12 at the arrows, and then send it to about probably boards 10 to 11 at the break point. That'll be a decent line for a lefty to try to start out. Okay, it's back in focus. Thank you very much. So probably maybe somebody heard my feedback or they saw it in their stream. Ooh, Yukun there going for a really, really deep line as well. I think Yukun was going for something like this, and his ball still overhooked. Dang, this ball is so snappy. Like maybe too aggressive of a back end reaction there. Okay, we have Lim Wei Yong here. I think it looks great. That shot looks like it overhooked. But he's playing like the fourth arrow. I think he was going for this line. Or maybe sending the ball between fourth and fifth arrow, but still aiming for like boards about board 10 at the break point, which is still good. Still decent. Good spare by Yukun there. Oh, almost a chop. Ooh. Yeah, that's the downside of a two-handed spare shot, because if you don't do something to your rotation to change your rotation to a full forward roll or to make the ball skid further, there's always a chance that the ball rolls forward and chops a lot of the right-sided spares. So for Josh here, Josh from BIS, I would actually recommend this kind of line. Playing between the second and third arrows, maybe landing the ball at around 14, hitting around 13 at the break point. Sorry, 13 at the arrows, and then sending the ball to around board 12 at the break point. Because even though it's a lefty, he is a two-handed lefty, so he will have a fair amount of rev rate. Oh, he misses, totally misses to the right. Yeah. Where he lands the ball as well as where he projects it was totally off as well, all the way off to the right. Not even near the pink line that I've drawn on the lane. Okay, Randu. Ooh, good spare attempt by Ryan Lu there. That is rough. Seeing that chop there. Yeah, he feels it too. See if Coach Yukun plays a really deep line in. Yeah, I think Coach Yukun should go ball down to a less aggressive ball, because I think his line is fine. He is aiming for that board. Like he's sending his ball to quite far on the break point, like 12 or something along those lines. And Niu Yihui here is actually a really, really good bowler. Like our dude Niu Yihui, who just actually threw that strike. He was going for this line. Extremely good. His fundamentals is extremely solid. Maybe we can take a look at Mr. Neo's fundamentals again. So we have the benefit of a replay. So extremely solid fundamentals. So first and foremost is his back super straight, right? And his bowling shoulder well slanted compared to the non-bowling shoulder. So it's always good to have your bowling shoulder a bit lower. And then he has his back totally straight during the stance. Check out his timing to, I think, still considered early timing. He seems to be a mature bowler. So most of us, even for me, when I first started learning bowling like 20 plus years ago, we were only taught one timing, which was the so-called the early ball placement timing. So it's quite common for, you see, many mature bowlers to have this kind of early timing because that's what we learn as kids. So it's quite hard to change our timing when we're going into adulthood. And most of us don't really see the need to change our timing, right? Because changing timing is a very painful process. But anyway, back to Mr. Neo here. So pretty good. So other than the early ball placement timing, look at his body lean forward. So decently not too high the backswing, but it goes up to slightly above his head level. And look at that upper body forward lean. Lots of upper body forward lean. And look at his balance arm as well. Totally straight, almost parallel to the floor, almost perfect, like in an extremely powerful position during the fourth step, and goes into the slide. So as it goes into the slide, his balance arm does drop a fair bit, so that is just one gripe about it. But his knee bend is still excellent, so still has excellent knee bend during the release. Trailing leg goes into here, kicks up a little bit, probably because his balance arm is not ideally positioned. Because ideally, if you have your balance arm here, then you should feel your upper body should be a little bit more stable. Then you could have your trailing leg a little bit lower, closer to the ground. So you don't have to kick up your trailing leg, and that will make your finishing position a lot more stable, more consistent. Then if you look at his follow through here, if I use a circle, follow through ends up above his head as well. He does actually stand up a little bit, like he actually does pop up a little bit from his upper body after he releases the shot. So that is a minor imperfection in his form there. But overall, still pretty solid, right, for a mature bowler. Then he doesn't maintain his finishing position. So lack of discipline there, but because most of us, most of the mature bowlers, they no longer train every single day, or they don't even bowl like 3 or 4 times, like seriously train. So most of their finishing position discipline is off, and that actually will like lead to more inconsistent bowling. But it is quite difficult to get mature bowlers to have that kind of discipline again, unless they get like a regimented, structured training program, and then the coach has to remind them like every session, like for 2 times to 3 times a week, to maintain their finishing position after the release. So if not, most of the mature bowlers, because they are heavier, their knees are weaker, right, then they tend to want to like stand up straight after releasing the ball in order to release the strain on their sliding knee. Yeah, then sends his ball to, let's see the line he's playing. Okay, he plays a more direct line actually. He doesn't play the area which I actually thought he would. So he actually sends it. I think he lands his ball at around board 10. Then he hits like the arrow at close to 10th arrow, like maybe 9th arrow. Then his ball goes all the way out to like board 6 to 7 at the break point before it actually hooks in. So he is playing an area of the lane that's very little allowance. It's very tight because that area of the break point, so where he's playing here, this area of the break point, right, is actually totally flat. Like the oil there is flat. There's no allowance at all. So if he misses his break point just by a bit, he wouldn't get the result that he wants. So pretty impressive that he's playing that part of the lane and that he can get a strike. Still, he only got like 2 strikes in the last 5 frames. So understandably, it's a lot more difficult to strike from that kind of line, from that breakpoint. And he's keeping his games clean, so he's still having a decent score. Okay, so that is lane 25, 28. Is there any other? Let's do a refresh here. Yeah, 25, 28 is the furthest that we can see. So I think there are no cameras beyond 28. But I do see some bowlers on the like 29 and 30, which are not fully captured on camera, especially Jeremy Fang there, who is the pro shop owner and driller for Singapore Bowling Academy for Rifle Range Road. Okay. And for our BS bowler here, Ang Shen Hing, I think I have commented on his game before. So obviously his game is not that fantastic. Still needs a lot of work, a lot of room for improvement. So first and foremost is that he has a little bit of body leaning forward during the stance, so there is a bit of an early body weight transfer. But other than that, where he holds the ball here is pretty good. Ball placement timing wise is all right. I think it's at the end of the second step. 1, 2, yeah, end of the second step. So ball placement timing is good. He places the ball in the direction of his target, so that is good. So his ball placement is facing that direction. It's good as well. You can see that he gets his hips out of the way. Yeah, gets his hips out of the way of the downswing. Actually, most part of his game is good. His fundamentals look solid. Just that what I would have preferred is that I would have preferred for him to be able to straighten his downswing. Sorry, straighten his elbow during the downswing at an earlier point of time, because we can see here that for Ang Shen Hing here, we are already going into the release window. So his release window is right here, right? So we're going into the release window, yet if you pay attention to his elbow, right, the elbow is actually not straightened yet. So actually it'll be better for him if he is able to straighten his elbow earlier in the downswing, so that he can have better flat spot and his bowling release can be smoother. Because what's happening here is that it is actually delaying, because his elbow is still bent. He's actually scooping up, his right hand is scooping up the ball during the release window. And because he's scooping up the ball, he actually unintentionally unintentionally lofts the ball a little bit during the release. So this lofting of the bowling ball during release actually slows down the ball speed, as well as gives the ball a very weird axis rotation. So the ball like would almost spin in reverse, and that would make the ball movement down the lane very drastic. Like his ball movement will be a lot angular and not as smooth. Then that scooping motion also like obstructs, sort of like hampers his accuracy as well. He does straighten the ball, he does straighten his elbow, but yeah, a little bit late, because by the time he straightens the elbow, the ball is already like in front of his chin, so he's actually lofting the ball a little bit. So you can see, understandably, his ball speed is a little bit slower than his academy mates, than his compatriots, and that actually really hurts him. It hurts. The accuracy is also not that accurate as well, because the bent elbow there on the downswing actually really hurts accuracy, because he's not able to have the ball, to release the ball on time. He's releasing the ball late, and late release gives so many problems to both accuracy as well as ball speed and axis rotation. Creates a lot of problems. Okay, I think that's about it. So I think there's one more lane change for the last two games. And I believe the pair here with John Tan here has already made their change. Marcus Go here, maybe from SIM, I'm not too sure, wearing the grey t-shirt, has a pretty interesting form. So let's look at his game. I like the fact that his acceleration is really fast. you look at his last 3 steps here, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for a one-hander, his acceleration is really fast. But his fundamentals, like for the finishing position, right, are not that good. So that would impact his consistency. First and foremost is that you can see here during his finishing position, his balance arm is a bit late, right? Ideally, by the time you go into this finishing position, ideally a balance arm should be in this spot. And you can see that his shoulders, even though it's slanted down, his upper body actually is still considered rather upright. If you look at where his spine tilt is, even for a one-hander, ideally it would be better for his spine tilt to be like in this way, this direction, because it doesn't create enough space on the right side of his body for the downswing. So his hips are actually in the way. So if you see his hips here, so this is hips, yeah, getting in the way of the downswing. And then after release, he actually has a huge pop-up, right? Like huge pop-up. If we go back to where when he released the ball, if you look at his shoulder level when he releases the ball, okay, here, right? So the shoulder level when he releases the ball is here. And then you can look at how much he actually pops up his upper body after he releases the ball. So now his shoulder level is here. So he pops up his upper body from here to here, right? There's a huge movement of the upper body. So again, this will add to inconsistency. Balance arm not fully straight as well. Yep. But overall, his lower body finishing position is decent. Not enough knee bend here. That's because he pops up way too much. If he didn't have this popping motion of his upper body, actually his finishing would look a lot better. Trailing leg is also pretty good as well. Trailing leg pretty good. So now after he releases the shot, his upper body angle, right, is actually a lot better. So some sort of like some deficiencies in his finishing position as well as his form, and then because he stands totally up, he doesn't maintain a disciplined finishing position. He doesn't stay low at the finishing position there. More like he doesn't lean forward enough. Let's say look at his release. Yeah, he leans forward here, and then because during his release, right, you can see that he pops up his upper body, so he no longer has upper body forward lean. Yeah, and then he totally stands up here, so it doesn't have that disciplined finishing position. I think he gets a strike. This shot, yeah, pretty lucky, gets a strike there. But you can see that he wasn't that confident in this shot, right? Like the shot didn't hit where he wanted to. But still, what's good about his bowling style is that his acceleration is fantastic. His acceleration of his last 3 steps gives him a lot of ball speed as well as ref rate as well, because his hand moves so fast. And when you have fast moving hands, like when you release a ball very quickly and there's a quick upward flick of the fingers, that will also add to the ref rate of the ball. And it also gives the ball extra ball speed because of his the momentum that he generates from his quick movement of his last 3 steps. So there are some benefits to his style, just that his basic fundamentals could be better. It could be improved on. Yeah, you can see that his hips are in the way. So he is having troubles trying to get the ball to the left there. But he's trying to get the ball to go straight. But because his hips are in the way, it actually has to send the ball to avoid the hips. So he's missing his target to the right, which is why he totally missed the hit pin there. And I see a very familiar bowling name there. Will be, let's see if I can see Kill Bowling. Is it? This is lane 17 to 20, 13 to 16. Yep. Yeah. Have Nikhil here bowling soon, I think. Nikhil will be a very familiar name in the bowling community. Like if you have boat leagues, if you have boat fun bowls, Nikhil bowls a ton of them. And he has a very unorthodox style. So I haven't really analyzed his style in close detail. We'll take the opportunity now to do some like deep analysis. His timing is actually pretty good. Yeah. So very unorthodox style. But then again, he also has a pretty unorthodox body shape as well. So first and foremost, obviously, Nikhil is a lot broader than most of the like other guys even in the squad, right? So he has broad hips as well as broad shoulders. So you have to take that into context, especially the hips. His broad hips, so he has to find a way to get the hips out of the way of his downswing. Because if not, if he gets in the way, then his downswing, uh, like the like the hips will be blocking the ball right in the downswing. So he has to find a way to get it out of the way. So first and foremost, I think I noticed that his timing was actually good. Upper body is decently upright, bowling shoulder a little bit slanted down, as of which is good bowling fundamentals. Then if you look at his timing, so he stands pretty far in the lane. You look at he utilizes the full approach of the lane because Nikhil is decently tall, like uh yeah, decently tall, decently long feet. But his footwork, his footsteps is a little bit on the large side. Like even though he is tall, like the first two steps could be smaller. Like if he's smaller, I think he will find his approach to be a little bit more consistent, a little bit slower there. So his first two steps are actually too large for my personal liking. Like you can see that he takes very big first two steps. Like even for somebody uh with his long feet, right? I will feel like the first two steps should be really small like this, probably half of what he's probably taking. So two big first two steps would mean that he doesn't have a lot of approach. He doesn't have a lot of balance. The remaining amount of approach he has to work with is very little. So that means he has to do compensations to his footwork. His footwork has to like do some shuffle stepping, or he have to really shorten his like maybe the third, fourth, and fifth steps. Even he might even have to shorten his slide in order for him to like end up before the foul line. If not, he'll go beyond the foul line, which is because his first two steps are a little bit too large. Then going back to his ball placement timing is actually quite good. So one, two. So you see he totally completes his second step before you can see his ball and his bowling arm moving. So that is actually delayed ball placement timing. So that timing is actually good. Okay. So notice that in this case, Nikhil actually opens up his shoulders, and I assume he opens up his hips along with his shoulders as well. That is done to make space for his ball to come through on the downswing. And we don't have a good view here, but I think Nikhil also does an inside out swing as well. Mainly is actually he does that to same thing is to avoid his hips because he has broader hips and his hips are in the way. So he probably at a young age developed this style where he swings his ball inside out, and at the back he does what we call a figure eight. So he swings inside out, and then the ball actually goes. I don't know how do I describe it. It goes this way, and then figure eight, and then it goes this way on the downswing. So it does like the ball goes up this way, and then it goes to the inside, and then it goes down. So that is what we call a figure eight swing. So which is not in fashion nowadays. It was taught long ago, like maybe 20 plus years ago, as a way for bowlers to generate power, right? Because they want their hand on the inside of the bowling ball, so they do this figure eight motion, but it is quite inconsistent. So because it has this extra movement on the top of the backswing, which is very hard to master, and it adds to a lot of inconsistency. Yes, it goes into the release. Actually, you can see that he doesn't have enough knee bend. Well, because Nikhil is a bigger guy, so I assume the strain on his leg is actually quite severe if he were to like if he were to like have good knee bend. So he doesn't have a good knee bend here, and you can see that here upon release, his sliding leg is totally straight. Balance arm still not fully extended here as well, so doesn't have really good upper body balance. But I find that he can balance probably because his sliding knee doesn't bend as much. So he is actually, it's quite amazing that he can actually balance with so little knee bend, right? Quite amazing. He managed to find a way to balance himself, but obviously not enough knee bend. Trailing leg position is really good though. crane leg positioning, really good. His upper body positioning to the right, this tilt to the right for his upper body is also really good. So certain aspects of his physical game are actually really good. Obviously, it's not perfect, so he has this pretty unorthodox style. But it does work for him. He does hit his target. He has decent ball speed, decent ref rate as well. So when you have decent ball speed, decent ref rate, all that's left is like the accuracy part. Accuracy aspect, I can't really comment because I haven't like bowled with him before. I can't see how precise it is, but he hasn't like won any big tournaments yet. So maybe his consistency is not that great. Yeah, because you can see that his upper body moves around a lot after he releases a shot because there's a lack of balance. He doesn't have enough knee bend. His balance arm isn't straight enough. So his upper body balance is kind of lacking. So when you don't have that good solid upper body, like good solid finish, balanced finishing position, overall might still be tough, right? To hit consistent, like to hit your target consistently. So pretty unorthodox finishing position, but very active bowling community member. I mean, he will still beat me in bowling like 100 out of 100 times for sure. But just that, yeah, it definitely his physical game can be better. Okay, so we get spare shots here. Let's go back to live view. Also, Nikhil has this really late release. Like if we were to go back to when Nikhil released his spare shot, like look at how late he releases his ball. He has this loft here. Yeah. Probably because he has a lack of knee bend, so it's like really high above the lane. So yeah, very late release. Then his ball like basically like hooks and dumps his ball into the lane. So that will also add to inconsistency because when your ball goes this way, right, when you loft your ball and then it lands like this, rather than going smoothly down the lane and going this way, obviously you're going to have a lot of inconsistency because your landing point is now here instead of here. So when you want to like visualize or calculate the lines, it is quite difficult, right? Because your landing point is like so far down the lane. Oh, we're back with Uncle Rick Tan here, and with Coach Remy actually standing behind here, helping one of his bowlers. That's a really, he's taking a lot of time on his stance. Looks good, looks really good shot from this bowler here. But the line that he takes is like really tight too. Ooh, Korea actually has that 7-10 split. That's rough. Good shot from Remus there, getting a strike. fair. And we have Eddie Lowe, the infamous spinner Eddie Lowe. There's been bowling spinner for way before I started bowling. So you can get a view of what Uncle Rick is, what kind of lines Uncle Rick is playing. And also maybe you can take a look at Uncle Rick Tan's physical game as well. It's his physical game is a blast from the past, very nostalgic, old school physical game. Okay, it gets a decent line. So first and foremost, let's take a look at Uncle Rick Tan's line. Okay, he lands his ball around 15 if I'm not wrong. So plays a pretty deep line there. Because I think his ball doesn't hook. Yeah, actually not too bad. He's actually sends it inside out, which is the ideal line that I was actually talking about. Sends it around board 10 at the break point. So just that he doesn't get the carry because his rotation isn't as much. For a one-handed bowler as well as a more mature bowler, as well as his style of release doesn't lead to a lot of ref rate. So let's analyze his physical game, right? It's an old school physical game that is very nostalgic. So first and foremost, let's see what is really good, right? Like even for his age, the basic fundamentals of like good upper body posture is still around there. So he is slanted a little bit to the right, but his upper body is mostly upright. Feet are upright as well. And see bowling shoulder slightly lower than his non-bowling shoulder, which is like in the older days, like our bowlers were taught to have level bowling shoulders, right? So it's actually like kind of changed it a little bit in his game by having his upper body slant to the right hand side. And then if we were to like take a look more, let's play. Oh, we have Coach Remy actually blocking the view there. Let's look at his timing first. 1, 2. So as I mentioned before, in the past, bowlers were taught early timing. That means when in the beginning of the second step, move the ball as well. So as expected, Rick Tan is using early ball placement timing, which is very common in mature bowlers. He places his ball actually to this side. So ball placement wise, it might actually go like beyond what conventional thinking is, right? Like conventionally, we want the ball to be placed in the direction of our target. So since his actually target should be around here, right? It should be his ball around here. So he actually places his ball way to the outside. Then he has this backswing where he swings to the inside actually. Yeah. You can see because he places his ball around here. So his backswing wraps way behind his back. But you can see that his target is actually here. He's actually trying to hit this target here. So his body will have, his backswing will do a change of direction. It will go this way and then it will direct the ball like this way. So there's a lot of compensation and inefficiencies in his swing. but he is used to this bowling style, right? So nobody's gonna like go ahead and change his bowling style because he's a very established bowler, a legend in the Singapore Bowling Academy and in the national team as well. Legend in the national team. So nobody is gonna like comment and change it. But like just from like an honest analysis, these are the inefficiencies in his physical game as well. Because this change of direction will make the bowler less consistent because there will be days where your like this movement is good, right? Because if you're feeling, but if you are in a stressful situation, or like today, maybe you just have 1 or 2 less hours of sleep. So that lack of sleep means that your body isn't able to perform at its optimum point. So there will be days whereby your this movement is like not enough, and then you send your ball to the right, you miss to the right, and there will be days that you move too much on the backswing, and then you will miss your shot to the left. So there will be inconsistencies that way. Then if we look at his release, so obviously knee bend is not a lot, but still pretty decent, right, for his age. Because you have to remember, I don't know how old Uncle Rick is, but probably in his 60 plus into his 70s. So for a man his age to have still this level of knee bend is actually pretty decent because a lot of people at this age wouldn't have as strong knees. A lot of them couldn't even bend their knees, right, at his age. So for him to be actively bowling and still have some knee bend at his age is actually pretty good. And if you look at his balance arm isn't perfect. So balance arm actually the most it extends is this way and then he drops. So balance arm isn't perfect, and the fact that he doesn't have any more knee bend after his release isn't that great as well. So trailing leg angle also isn't that great. Then he doesn't maintain this angle, right? Because ideally in the modern game, you want to maintain your upper body tilted to the right hand side so that you can have this big space for your body to go through, and you want to stay in that finishing position to be consistent. But as you can see, if we just reverse a little bit, he has a lot of changes in his upper body. A lot of movements is actually not too much. If you look at his upper body movement, actually it stays in the same spot even after release. Only after he releases the shot, then he actually stands up. So during the release of the shot, his actually upper body is quite consistent. There's not much movement in his upper body as he travels down the lane. As he moves down the lane, only after he releases the shot and the ball goes past the arrows, does he actually step off his finishing position. So his upper body is actually pretty consistent there. It's pretty consistent, there's not much movement in his upper body during the approach, which is actually pretty good. So that could be a secret of why he's actually hitting his target, why he can still be very accurate and consistent, even with his very unorthodox backswing there, the figure eight backswing, like I mentioned earlier for Nikhil as well. So even with a figure eight backswing, he can still be pretty consistent and pretty accurate. So his stability of his upper body definitely does help him. So that's a legend there, Uncle Rick Tan. Very timeless style. But if you look at his style from afar, you will know that it's Uncle Rick. Because we've seen that style. I've seen that style when I was growing up. And like he still has the same style to this day and age, even when I'm like 40, right? So I've seen him bowling when I was like in my teens. So that's like a good 20 plus years ago. So timeless classic style of Uncle Rick Tan. Okay, and I think I was gonna wrap up the stream now. So my throat is getting a little bit dry. I think it's been more than an hour, I think. Yeah, more than an hour since I streamed. And I hope the stream as well as the video, the recorded video, helps helps the viewers to understand bowling a little bit better. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the comments. And if you would like coaching, because if you are looking to perform at this kind of national competition level, and you find that your physical game maybe not be the best, like you are frustrated that you're not reaching there, and you're looking for a coach, you can always contact me. So my contact details will be down in the stream or video description, as well as in my other videos. You can find my contact information there. You can WhatsApp me, you can call me, and you can arrange for bowling lessons. Okay, thank you very much, guys, for watching. We will see you guys next time.